Hello, hello. I'm Camden Walker for Capital Weather Gang, WashingtonPost.com/weather, trying to prepare you for another warm week. A warming trend is underway. Rain chances remain low. Clouds could kind of mix with sun at least half the time this week, but temperatures are on the rise and generally comfortable, generally above average. Though I will say we could have a little bit of humidity later this week in the middle part of the week when the heat let's call it heat. It's enough above average. We might get to around 80 degrees on Wednesday. So we'll go through the details for you. Catherine, thanks so much for joining in. Stephanie, the original, Creek Farm, Jules, and Anadu, thanks for tuning in on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook. Anytime you need us, we're at WashingtonPost.com/weather. I'm Camden Walker doing our 20-minute Sunday Sunset Live Q&A chat. Appreciate seeing you, Ruth Elisa, as well. It is going to be a warm one. Let's look at the temperature animation. And of course, fall color is finally peaking around the I-95 corridor. We've got temperatures that are starting in the 60s Monday, ending the warm week in the 60s perhaps on Friday. In between Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we really could see 70s, if not around 80 degrees, perhaps peaking, the peak of the peak on Wednesday. David, good evening. And Kristen, happy November. I can't believe it's 5 p.m. for a Sunday sunset chat, David. Indeed, early sunsets. I hope you adjusted okay to our first day of standard time. It does indeed get dark around 5 p.m., Ruth Elisa. And good evening, Diana from Greencastle, Pennsylvania. I'm so glad you enjoyed the day. It was beautiful indeed. Laura, indeed, I will get to the allergy pollen update low across the board as it looks now, but I do have that queued up for you. Thanks for tuning in from YouTube, Laura. Ruth Elisa, I think we have on WashingtonPost.com/weather the whole history of standard versus daylight time for you. And Peter, hello, daughter Annabelle with Peter tonight, and Stacy. We are 15 degrees above average potentially this week. We could get near a record maybe on Wednesday, but we'll see as we get closer. Generally, our averages for this time of year are low 60s, 60 to 63 for this upcoming week for the entirety of the region. Higher elevations cooler, south and east of town a little bit warmer, on the warmer side of that range, around kind of closer to the mid 60s. But we're cooling fast, still losing about a degree of our average high temperature every 3 days or so. Hi, Zombie Boy on YouTube and Ruth Elisa. Appreciate you very much. And we've got Eric, Odette, and Liz, and Tape Notes, and Emily on Instagram as well. Appreciate seeing all of you on all four of our social media channels. Let's go through the details with starting the dew points. Just because, can you believe it, in November, coming with our warmth in the middle part of this week, we could have some dew points getting a little bit unpleasant. Maybe in the low 60s, low to mid 60s, so kind of moist, becoming unpleasant according to our emoji scale below. But it should start and end the week in the 60s Monday and Friday in a fairly comfortable regime. But I just wanted to alert you, we could have maybe a couple degrees of a heat index in the middle part of this week to add on to our air temperatures because of moist, somewhat unpleasant dew points, especially considering it's November. It's a little bit much for this time of year, I would argue. Precipitation, few and far between rain chances this week. Stay tuned. I mean, we're going to focus up on hopefully getting a quarter to a third of an inch of rain, but it's mainly cloudy, and these clouds are generally high clouds filtering the sun most of the time, and they don't produce much in the way of rain. But I wanted to show you, give you kind of an idea, even if I don't want you focusing on exact timing and rain amounts, but so much that maybe a straight rain shower is possible Tuesday. Overall, it's an election day with no real weather worries, nothing to prevent you from getting to and from the polls. And then maybe Thursday, maybe Sunday are the next two focal points for breaking this dry streak, which I think is going to tie our record of 34 days without rain measured at DCA Airport. I think on Tuesday, if we don't get anything by 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday, Election Day, I think that ties our record, which we've been covering, and I did put that in my PM update today as well. Rain amounts again on the light side, but better than the last couple weeks when we saw near zero rain amounts for the 7-day precipitation estimate. So by the time you see me next Sunday, hopefully we have a quarter to a third of an inch of rain, mainly coming out of Thursday's shower chances and maybe Sunday's shower chances. So we'll see. Exact timing and amount subject to change a little bit, but you should take from this it's still a light rain week if we do see some rain. Our dry streak is well embedded. Soil moisture levels are very low. We do have some droughts around the region, though the worst of it is northeast of town and then over in West Virginia, compared to, being right around the Beltway. Yes, we have now gotten into D1 level droughts, the first level of drought in the outline there, the very light orange there. But soil moisture is more kind of what we're seeing in the last, 2 to 4 weeks. That's kind of where the impacts are probably most noticeable on vegetation wilting if it hasn't seen a frost or a freeze yet. Much of the growing season kind of over in the region, but it's the good news is that the U.S. Drought Monitor sees only short-term impacts for, agricultural, hydrological, grasslands have a low impact so far. It's short-term that we've seen, not a long-term drought that would require more water restrictions in our more immediate area of the Beltway in the DC area. So there is some, silver lining to our low moisture levels, and we can look ahead to next work week with maybe leaning above average in precipitation category. So that's great news. And we could have another warm one, or at least above average. Our averages are getting down towards 60 degrees next work week. So a decent probability of above average temperatures could mean merely 60s, but that's still comfortable. That's still pretty darn mild for this time of year. And then I think Laura on YouTube wanted to check out pollen levels. Low across the board. It's still there for trees, grasses, weeds, and your spores. So I'm not counting my laurels here as an allergy sufferer. I've still had to monitor some reaction to what's in the air. And then the tropics are still very active. As you saw in my PM update at WashingtonPost.com/weather, I did talk about the 4 tropical disturbances total in the tropical Atlantic right now. November 30th is the last day of tropical season, of hurricane season, but it remains active, and potential tropical cyclone 18 could move toward the Florida Keys and the Gulf of Mexico as hopefully a low wind hurricane or a tropical storm middle to the end part of this week. So that is a brand new development. The tropics remain active, and I gave you a broader overview of our drought, soil moisture, and tropics in my PM update on the blog. And unfortunately, so far, no tropical moisture is expected to stream into our region right now. So we'll keep you posted. There's my latest forecast at the top there, PM update. Cloudiness is mixing with our warming trend this week. Dry streak overall remains intact and might tie our record on Tuesday, 34 days. If we don't see a stray shower actually be measurable at DC Airport, fall foliage is now peaking in most of the region. Along and even east of I-95 is in pretty good shape for the fall foliage. I hope you've been enjoying it. It's been a decent weekend, right? All right, we've got Julia. Hope you had a great weekend as well. And indeed, no, at least no problems getting to and from the polls on Tuesday. And Ruth Elisa, happy November indeed. And Mike, I know where's my rain dance? Can I give us some fireworks? For how do I get this? Oh well, I want some fun festive stuff, but I guess it doesn't measure. Oh, there we go. There's like some rain fireworks for you. For hopefully this week, mainly. I think Thursday and Sunday are the best rain chances, and I should say shower chances. As we reviewed a second ago, it's only looking like a quarter to a third of an inch of rain. Maybe a stray shower on Tuesday, which is the day our record dry streak reaches 34 days, which would tie our record driest streak. So we'll see if a stray shower on Tuesday somehow is measurable at DC Airport. Unlikely, but possible. David, glad you liked that. Hello, Charlene. Lisa, good to see you. Indeed, this is our quick 20-minute chat every Sunday, our weekly Sunday Sunset Live Q&A. I'm Camden Walker for the Capital Weather Gang. Anytime you need us, we're at WashingtonPost.com/weather. Good to see you, G, on X. Thanks so much for tuning in. And Colleen, so far I lean earlier on Thursday, but timing subject to change for Thursday rain. And it's just showers. I don't know if it's too much to plan around overall. David, I wish I could do some thunder and lightning backgrounds right now to kind of do conjure up some rain for this week, more than we're currently expecting. Social worker, so far, our fire danger is actually low. but we'll have to watch it throughout. So far, relative humidity, fuel, dryness, grasslands are still moist enough. Wind is under control enough. The fire danger ingredients are currently not there like they were. I think 7 to 10 days ago, we had kind of I think a red flag warning one day and an elevated fire enhanced risk that was also flagged by the National Weather Service. But Colleen, you have a great week and good morning to you, Ashok. Good to see you on YouTube. But a social worker indeed. We need to monitor with our dry soils, but I don't think a major fire danger is in the cards right now. And currently it's fairly low to moderate, which is great news if we can find great news in this. All right. So far, I haven't seen a burn ban, just advisory to be careful if we're doing outdoor cigarettes, grilling, burning of brush. Hello in Culpeper, Steve. Leaves are a peak there. I love it, mulching them up with a mower. That's fantastic. You have a good week too, Ruth Lisa. Colleen, good to see you. Thanks so much for tuning in for our weekly Sunday Sunset Chat, our 20-minute chat every Sunday, now super early. I'm on the air another 10 minutes or so, 9 or 10 minutes. Can't believe now with the standard time reactivated for the winter, we are now going to have these early 5, even 4 something p.m., 4:45 p.m. Sunday sunset chats. Ali13 on Instagram, yes, indeed, 34 days coming up on Tuesday would match our all-time record for the dry streak. 34 days without rain in DC so far has not been measured. So if the stray shower or two chance on Tuesday does not come to fruition and is measurable at DC Airport, we would tie the record for our driest streak in DC. Good to see you, Garrett, Ufa Rickardson, Chris. You have a great week as well. Good to see you. And Garrett, VVS, Chris, Jode, Abigail, David, and Jaylee Cameron, and DC, Meg, and Bethany. Alton Dangerous, yay, fall indeed. High five for that. I love that. Can I do 2 thumbs up and get some confetti for fall? Oh, that's still fireworks. Oh, I want to do this for confetti. I think if I do the two signs like this, we can get some confetti for fall. It has been a pretty beautiful weekend, and I'm gonna have to give up on that. But overall, we want to celebrate some decent fall weather. I agree. The dryness, the rain-free, dry soils and drought conditions are annoying. That we have to think about that, right? Even as the growing season is coming to a close, we need some rain. It's a record dry streak, potentially matching our record dry 34 days coming up on Tuesday. All right, and I think I've caught up on all the questions and comments. We've got Caroline. I'm sorry to hear there was a brush fire in Darnestown this morning. I'm glad, luckily, winds weren't too fierce. And Francis, indeed, good to see you on X. A great day to be outside. Ooh, Alan, I like that. Outstanding weather as well. Oh, Eric, thanks so much. Burn ban there in Warren County. Good to get that information. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube. And South Central Pennsylvania, Charlene, also a burn ban. That's great to hear. Luckily, no water restrictions come along with our persistent and slightly growing drought. We are maybe thankful that most of the growing season is over. As annoying as watering got to be, at least we had no water restrictions. It's not been a long-term drought to pierce our hydrological needs and agricultural needs in our region, which is great news. All right. Uh, all right, this is great. I'm learning now from G on X. Appreciate you tuning in. We have a statewide burn ban in Maryland. I hope I could verify that, but that's a great news. I will see if I can put that in my PM update there at the top. And forecast at a glance here above me. And peak foliage is now reaching the region here in this graphic below here. So I appreciate that. Hopefully we all got some good pictures. I've seen some great ones coming from the National Mall recently as well. Temperatures this week, let's animate those below here. Starting in the 60s, ending in the 60s. Monday, Friday, kind of our bookend 60s days. Generally mid 60s, I would say, is the best call for temperature regimes on Monday and Friday. But it peaks, right? We get pretty warm in the 70s. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday looks like, peaking perhaps around 80 degrees. The peak of this warmth is on Wednesday, it looks like, around 80 degrees. So it is going to be very warm and maybe, can you believe it, a slight heat index of a couple degrees on top of our air temperatures on Wednesday. We could see dew points above 60 degrees. So prepare maybe for a little bit of humidity, that sticky feeling. For November, I think it's going to be noticeable. In the middle of the summer, we would be celebrating dew points in the low 60s. But coming off of our acclimation to drier, cooler air in the fall, I think it will be noticeable this week. So just keep that in mind. Nothing to be concerned about, but just kind of an added notable aspect to this warmth in the middle part of this week. It was drier warmth last work week when we were looking at 80 degrees. Precipitation wise, few and far between shower chances. Maybe a stray shower on Tuesday. Overall, great for getting to and from the polls. No weather concerns really for getting to and from the polls. We'll just have to see if a stray shower on Tuesday on election day is measurable at DCA Airport, preventing us from even tying on Tuesday the record 34 days of rain-free conditions in DC. And we would break it on Wednesday if we remain rain-free as well. That would be our 35th day without measurable rain in DC. Clouds are somewhat dominant this week. I just want to prepare you for a lot of filtered sunshine, high clouds at times, mixing, especially the middle and end of the week. We could see cloudier conditions. So, with this warmth this week, it's going to be a little cloudier than last week, which was less moist. And that's why we're seeing kind of concomitant at the same time as these clouds and more rain chances than recent last couple weeks. Some dew points could get above 60 with a little bit of humidity coming in as well for the middle part of this week with this warmth. And let's check rain amounts, not adding up to too much, but better than we have seen the last couple weeks. In the next 7 days, by the time you talk to me for our next weekly Sunday Sunset Live chat Q&A, we could have a quarter to a third of an inch, fingers crossed, better than nothing, which has been a common theme. It's been too rain-free and created drought conditions in the region. And notable in the deep red shadings and kind of around town and into Maryland, very low soil moisture conditions, and I'm hearing of a burn ban in Maryland, which seems like a good idea with soil moisture levels being so low. In West Virginia as well, that is also the focal point of our recent drought conditions, persistent for months now, unfortunately. Here's some good news. Looking at next work week, we lean above average for precipitation. Now, looking at the temperature projections for next work week compared to average, it looks likely-ish to be above average. Keep in mind, though, this time of year, we are rapidly, every kind of 3 days or so, losing about a degree for our average high temperatures anyway. So, roughly 60-degree high temperature for our average next work week means seeing above average maps like this don't necessarily translate into a heat wave as much. So, we could be mild to warm next work week, but it remains to be seen the magnitude of the warmth. That's what this is another thing that doesn't tell us. But just in relation to average, probably above average again next work week as well, even though our averages are stair-stepping down at this part of fall. All right, I'm Camden Walker for our weekly Sunday Sunset Chat and for the WashingtonPost.com/weather team for the Capital Weather Gang. Appreciate seeing you for a weekly 20-minute chat on Sundays. Now, sunset is near 5 o'clock and going before 5 o'clock in the coming weeks. I'm on the air another couple minutes. Dwayne is loving the late season warmth. Glad to get a vote on that. And Julia, cloudy weather. Luckily, doesn't mean too much sunscreen needed, if you can believe it. I'm now seeing low enough sun angles that maybe there's an hour after kind of early afternoon, you might want some sunscreen if you're really not seeking shade for a full hour. But sunscreen requirements are much lower now. We're getting pretty good with that. Luckily, with lower sun angle this time of year, that's with more darkness and lower sun angle, we've got some silver linings. Gary, hello in Maine, and Vicky, good to see you. Appreciate it. And we do need the rain, but I'm glad you're enjoying the pretty weather while we have it. Social worker on X, good to see you. No problem. And Anastasia, good to see you on X as well. And let's see, I think I've caught up on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Instagram. Good to see you, Ali and Suisse. And Lisa, we just have our November outlook out in the last couple days. Snow projections, I think we're waiting a little bit longer toward Thanksgiving, typically. Ali, you're most welcome on Instagram. Thanks so much for tuning in. And we've got Prima and Leland and Adrienne and Ali and Katin Grop and Julianne Fox. Good to see all of you on Instagram. I've got a lot of you tuning in. Appreciate it. I'm making sure that I've caught up on all your questions and comments. Excellent. So we're on all four of our social media channels for another minute or so. X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Anytime you need us, we're at WashingtonPost.com/weather. My fellow allergy sufferers, I think Laura on YouTube earlier was noting, maybe a little bit of allergies around. Luckily, it's low across the board, but that doesn't mean zero. I'm still feeling it every now and then. So I feel your pain, fellow allergy sufferers. And here's some key messages with potential tropical cyclone 18 currently in the Caribbean Sea. now being investigated further by the National Hurricane Center as it heads northwest. We have time to watch it, but may affect the Florida Keys the middle part of this week and maybe the Gulf Coast at the end of the week. Current projections, although somewhat uncertain, as the key messages indicate below, is that it might weaken into tropical storm as it enters, the northern Gulf of Mexico. So fingers crossed for low impacts. And unfortunately for the DC area, rain, I can't promise or see much of any coming our way from the system. So I know a lot of you like to, keep your fingers crossed for tropical moisture from some of these storms as silver lining of this very active tropical season that ends luckily on November 30th. David, good to see you. I'll see you next week. And Ruth Elisa, you have a good one. And Julia, you're most welcome. Maine also, I think, is an expanding drought. Gary could use some rain there. And Lisa, good to see you as well. And Marianne and Khan and Jex and Petunia and Lisa and Nisha and Boyden. All right. I really appreciate seeing all of you. My PM update there at the top. WashingtonPost.com/weather has all the latest for you. This has been our 20-minute weekly Sunday Sunset Live Q&A chat. I will see you next Sunday. Hopefully we have added by that point a quarter to a third of an inch of rain in our rain gauges for this upcoming week. But the dry streak currently still continues, and we might tie a record this week for longest time without rain in DC. I will see you next Sunday. This is Camden Walker signing off. Thank you so much and cheers. Try and enjoy the warmth coming up this week, even if